Welcome to another Inside Carolina Noon Dish. We are on the On3 Network. Go subscribe for $1 if you're not a part of the Don Callahan fan club. At Inside Carolina Tar Pit Premium Message Board. $1 gets you a subscription, and then you can check it out. If you like it, you can re-up for the year and join the new community at Inside Carolina at On3. Same community, same great staff, same great content, same Don Callahan, just a new house that we are living in. It is Wednesday at noon, Don Callahan. First of all, I'm not going to let you interrupt me. I'm just going to go to you and see what's on your mind. You got a top five, you got a chat MVP, you got all that stuff we need to get out of the way.
Yes. So chat MVP, we're going with somebody probably long overdue, probably the MVP every single week that we have this noon dish. We're going with Preston from Greensboro. Maybe he will stop ducking me at UNC games this season. But either way, Preston from Greensboro, who I don't know if he's in here because he hasn't said anything yet. He is the chat MVP from 2 weeks ago because it's been a while. Well, a while. I mean, I guess we're on the regular. Are we going weekly or what are we doing? I know last week I wasn't here.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're supposed to go weekly. We've got so much content crammed into this week. I thought about skipping, but yeah, I think weekly is probably the move during the season, right? Especially, with the recruiting weekends.
I can talk recruiting whenever you want, but most of the action happens in December and spring. June time. That's when the recruiting action happens. We'll have obviously visitors. We'll get into this weekend's visitors, but we'll have visitors each home game that we will be able to talk to during the season. But really, I mean, the season is mostly about the season, and recruiting takes a little bit of a backseat, especially now with the way the recruiting calendar is set up, because it almost, even though the 26 class can't sign until December, they're basically done for the most part. There's a couple of holes at least for Power 4 schools. There's a couple of holes that need to be filled. And beyond that, the focus is really on the 27s and the 28s and trying to get them to campus. That's the focus. We also have a top five. Your idea for the top five. What do we have, Tommy?
Go ahead. Right, I was saying tailgate foods, top five tailgate food.
Yeah.
Food, not beverage.
Okay, top five tailgate foods. Let's roll with it.
We're going to roll with top five tailgate foods. I put a thread on the message board, on the Tar Pit Premium message board. A lot of folks have chimed in. If you're watching this and you're on there, chime in if you haven't. But yeah, I think that's a good thing with a Monday tailgate, all day tailgate.
Yeah, Don, so that was my next question. When are you going to be out there?
I would figure noon at the latest.
Really? Okay, yeah. So in the same spot, right?
Yeah, Inside Carolina Live show will be at 5 from 5 to 7, but I figure there's going to be a lot to do and a lot to see and a lot of food to eat and a lot of drink to drink.
So I might stop by. It would be before the show actually starts, but I'll stop by and see who's out there. If you're going to be out there noon, goodness.
It's going to be a long day. I'm going to figure out I'm too old for that, but
I mean, you're saying that. I might just pack up my stuff and head out there earlier and just do some work out there and hang out with you.
Hey, we need to get that Starlink going so you could just sit out there and do your work.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
We do have a great setup with WCHL and their Wi-Fi and internet and all that stuff allows us to record it live or do it live at 5 o'clock. But yeah, certainly be out there before. Look for the Inside Carolina tent. If you've never been out to the Bowls Lot, I know there's a ton going on at campus, but your Bowls Lot is the classic tailgate spot for Chapel Hill. It's always been that way. We've had a blast. Don's come to see us once in a while. We had to get bodyguards, for the crush. It wasn't quite Taylor Swift hype, but it was close. And we are going to, I guess, recreate it if Don's going to join us on Monday. Yeah. It seems crazy. A lot of people should be at work. Nah, don't go to work. Even if you work on Labor Day, come see us in the Bowls Lot.
Yeah, but it should be a lot of people. And I imagine most people aren't working. And, if you're going to the
Sean
game.
Crawley's working. It sounds like Sean needs a Don Callahan note for work, like a a predetermined or
Bosses,
pre-written excuse.
yeah, give me your boss's email.
So let's start the show and get into why we do this, the noon dish. Even though you're still calling stuff scoop on the message boards, we're gonna call it dish here on our show. You highlighted offensive and defensive names to watch on the 2027 class, and I think it's discussed, and it's one thing I've noticed on it. It seems like there's more of a I don't know if you call it a prioritization of the state of North Carolina, but it seems like maybe recruiting will be a little closer to home this cycle in 27. Is that fair?
Yeah, yeah. No, I think you're going to see more of a priority on, and I think we're already seeing more of a priority being placed on the in-state guys, because I mean, the majority of this staff, especially the decision makers when it comes to the roster construction, namely Michael Lombardi, it was their first time in college. I think that there was a little bit of learning on the job for them, and I think they started to realize that, hey, it's a lot easier to recruit players the closer you are to campus. It's easier, less time consuming, less resources used. I mean, it's so might as well just kind of focus as closer to campus. They're still going to recruit nationwide, especially when they have a guy like Mondo, Armand Hawkins on the staff, who has strong ties to California. His dad runs one of the more successful 7-on-7 programs in California. He has at least one brother who's an assistant coach at one of the top programs in California. And then you also have Ty Nichols, who has strong ties to Texas. So you're going to see Texas still being recruited, and they're still going to send out offers to you guys recruits that they like throughout the nation, and kind of see where it's at. But we have seen definitely since the spring, really, more of an emphasis on the in-state guys, establishing relationships with those guys, trying to draw them to campus. And I think we've seen that pay dividends early on, because some of those guys have already put out top schools lists and have eliminated some schools that were pretty key. I mentioned, I don't know what it was the last time we were on, or the time before that, Quentin Cyphers down to 10 schools, eliminated NC State, where his dad and his brother went to school. We have Marquise Bryant, 4-star safety, one of the top players in the state. Quentin Cyphers, also one of the top players in the state also. But Bryant, top safety in the state, came out the top, I think it was the top 6, all the way down to 6, not a 10, not a 12, a 6. North Carolina made the cut there. NC State, another school, he didn't, he could probably walk to NC State and didn't make.
You're taking shots today, aren't you?
Yeah, it's just easy. It's not on purpose.
Well, it's Don Callahan. I don't want it. I don't need all that smoke in my Twitter feed.
I really don't. I typically don't pick on NC State, to be honest.
No. Yeah, I'll tell you this. I wouldn't mind being in Raleigh on Thursday night or tomorrow night, because that would be a fun game to go to. That is going to be an interesting night in Raleigh. Don, when you look at it.
Did you see some of the stuff that was going on, the back and forth on Twitter or whatever? I mean, most of it was childish, stupid stuff.
Yeah, I read some of it, some about Barstool crowd and all that stuff. I play on the field. It was hilarious last year, though. They start a brawl out there after losing. But anyway, I expect it to be wide open in Raleigh on Thursday night. Given that, how many of these in-state guys are making visits across the board when you got a Thursday night game? You got some Friday night games. You've got Saturday, and then you got Carolina as the standalone game Monday. How does that affect the recruiting weekend for a lot of these players? It sounds like they'll be quite busy.
Well, I called it the Carolina trifecta, and because there were quite a few in-state kids who were going to NC State, ECU on Thursday, Clemson, LSU on Saturday, and then UNC, TCU on Monday, which to me, as a college football fan, I mean, those are going to be 3 absolutely awesome atmospheres. Really are. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm envious of anybody who gets to hit that trifecta, and to do it for free is pretty nice too, So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously juggling schools and school schedules and all that sort of stuff, and that's what I think the recruit crowd will be very good on Monday night. But one of the things that made it not be really, really good is the fact that if you're a kid from Georgia, you're going to have to miss school on Tuesday. And some parents aren't cool with that. So that would make that difficult. So that kind of put a little bit of a hindrance on it. But it's still going to be a very, very good crowd on Monday.
Yeah, and even if you're not there in person, it's going to be all over the TV, all over
Yeah.
ESPN all day, pretty much from Chapel Hill. I'll ask you one question about that TV version. You think it's going to be the most watched Carolina football game in history?
That's probably a better question for you than me.
I don't know. It just seems like it's the most watched Carolina football game in history. I think yes.
Okay.
I think it'll be that. Most watched Carolina sporting event. There's a thread on the message board debating that. I don't know about that because
I don't know about that either.
Yeah, some of those national championship games are through the roof, but regular season maybe can live up to it. But yeah, North Carolina in the spotlight on Monday in the recruiting weekend. Have you gotten any sense that these game day weekends are going to be any different, or is it pretty much cut and dried for how schools do it, regardless of coaching staff? And I know it's case by case sometimes, but
well, I think we'll know better Monday, and probably we'll have a better feel because Monday's still a different day, different type of day. It's the opener. It's a Monday, not a Saturday. And so it might actually take until we see kind of what they do for the Clemson game, and even what Richmond is before Clemson, right, for the home schedule, get a feel there. But yeah, I mean, there's only so many ways you can kind of do this. And from what I've gathered so far, it's going to be pretty similar to what has been done generally. I mean, there's going to be some tweaks here and there, but for the most part, recruits get to campus an hour or so before, and in some situations, you might want them there even sooner so that you can do some extensive touring. Usually that's for guys who are further away, whereas the in-state guys, if you've been there, 5 times already, you don't need some sort of extensive tour. So you're coming there, an hour or two beforehand, maybe have a meal. Now, some guys underneath both Fedora and Mac Brown, some guys would be taken to the head coach's office and meet with the head coach during that sort of meal period time, which I guess Monday will be more dinner than lunch. And then after that, everybody ends up going down to the field to watch pregame warmups. And it is an NCAA rule, although I guess maybe it could have changed, or, I mean, who follows NCAA rules now? But recruits have to be off the field before, there is a certain point they have to be off the field by, definitely by kickoff, but I think it's a little bit before that. Because if you notice, if you actually pay attention on the field, all of the support staffers just start going nuts on getting these recruits off the field and all of that. And it's because if any are caught on there, it is a violation unless the rule has changed. So yeah, and then they go and they sit in their seats for the game. From my understanding, where the recruits are sitting at will be changed this season compared to the past. So we'll have to see that. I don't know how much that matters, with where, I mean, I guess it does with Keenan, because you don't want to be too low and you also don't want to be in the sun and all that other stuff. But yeah, for the most part, I think it generally is going to be the same. I'm sure there'll be some tweaks. It will be interesting to see because one of the things Mac would do is that he would meet with a select group of guys individually during that lunch meal period. And then there would be guys that he would meet on the field. They would kind of come out and you just talk really quickly during pregame warmups. So does Belichick have the meeting? Does he do the hybrid version of having the meeting and meet him on the field? Or does he just meet guys on the field? Does Lombardi have those meetings instead? Because Lombardi definitely has taken more of that sort of role. So that would be all interesting to kind of find out come Monday.
A couple things as you were talking. I don't know if folks heard my dog barking. I had a delivery by FedEx, and I've got a glass door, and I could hear my dog barking down there. And when they send the picture of your delivery, the package is on the front porch, and my dog is going ape you know what in the behind the door.
Oh boy.
So I thought that was hilarious. Anyway, I was waiting to hear if he was going to bust through the glass and go running after the guy. But anyway, I digress. Will Reason in the chat says, late to the party, but are Don and Tommy and Don going to be at the game tonight? Yes. Don will be at every home game. I will be at 9 and probably 10 games this year, depending
Wow.
on the UCF trip. Got to do it. I mean, it's a great season to get around and see all the hype. We'll see how it goes. But yes, we'll be there. We'll be in the Bowls lot. Don Callahan said earlier he will be in the Bowls lot if he can make it happen. So come see Don
Early. I will be there early. So way
early.
before the show.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, I know we've had at least one recruit in the Bowls lot in years past that came through there because I happen to know him. But be interesting to see where they shepherd those guys in and all how that's done. Is this the biggest recruiting weekend you anticipate, or would it be the Clemson game, you think?
It's going to be the Clemson game. For the reasons I mentioned, is that it's harder for the out-of-state guys to get to this game because of the fact that you have school for most of them on that Tuesday, and then you're getting it's a late one. What time is kickoff?
8
kickoff
o'clock.
is 8. So, I mean, wait, you might be getting out there like midnight-ish.
If you're lucky.
Yeah.
And we've got a day after podcast. Thank goodness we backed it up an hour to 10 a.m.
And so if you're going to a hotel, I mean, yeah, so it's not ideal for out-of-state guys. Clemson, that's going to be a little bit better for. And if North Carolina beats TCU, you got to think they should beat Charlotte and Richmond, and Clemson's
UCF.
Oh, that's right. UCF is in there too. So
yeah, you've got UCF, and then you've got a bye, and then Clemson, and then
Gotcha.
a bye. So it's like Clemson game is set up to be potentially an epic one if they can get there undefeated. Looking at your scoop, we're talking with Don Callahan here on the Noon Dish on the Inside Carolina YouTube page, but also on the Inside Carolina's new home, the On3 Network. Also, shout out to Johnny T-Shirt and JohnnyT-Shirt.com as our sponsors. But Don, when you broke down your offensive names to watch and defensive names to watch, it's sort of, I mean, it's obviously a premium article. It's a ton of content in there, but sort of break down how you did that. How did you determine who you were going to include in these articles? Let's start with the offense.
Yeah, so I mean, well, it's the same for the offense and defense. You know, I talked to some sources, try to get a feel for, okay, who are the guys at each of these positions that the staff is very interested in. And really, for a lot of the positions, it's still very early. A lot of offers have been sent out. And I think the approach for some of these positions, and this is kind of laid out in that scoop, is that they know they've put out a lot of offers, a lot of national offers. They're seeing who reciprocates interest and kind of going from there, you know, and that will kind of help define who truly they go after. And as the two scoops lay out, a lot of those in-state guys have already visited multiple times. And so that's why they're featured prominently in both of those scoops. But there are some out-of-state guys. There's some interesting things. I won't go into detail, but running back in particular, where North Carolina already has a commitment. Amir Brown committed earlier this month, right? And yeah, quarterback is interesting because really, even though we're still technically in the 26th class, the quarterback dominoes have already started to fall, and has impacted North Carolina and their approach. So the scoop goes into detail and just how it impacts things and where North Carolina is at the quarterback position. That's the one position to kind of definitely keep an eye on at this point. But yeah, I mean, that's just talking to sources, getting a feel for who North Carolina is interested in, talking to those recruits, seeing, okay, any plans to visit. You know, a lot of guys said yes, trying to figure it out with their schedule. As I mentioned, a lot of the in-state guys say they're coming to the Monday game. A lot of recruits told me they're coming to the Clemson game. Duke is another game. I know we did our top 5 home games for recruiting purposes, and I think most people had TCU number 1, Clemson, and Duke. That was the order. I think I was in the minority flipping TCU and Clemson, but those are definitely looking like the 3 games that recruits are targeting to visit North Carolina for.
When you're looking at this, let me ask you about offers. You said there's a ton of offers out there. Uh, I would I would think that you're doing offers based on tape or video, sight unseen in person, or how does that work with this new staff? Best you can tell. A lot of times people want to see them in person before
Yeah.
they make offers, but I just don't see that being, especially with all the ways to get access to tape and video and everything else these days. How's it work for this staff? Best you
So,
know.
yeah. So I think that it depends on the grade of the recruit when they're evaluating them. If they have a certain grade, then they obviously will just offer them without, sight unseen, basically.
Mhm.
There could be, and it also depends on the position. I think this staff is a little different, but I've known most of the quarterback coaches I've known have always wanted to see the quarterback throw in person first. And you might say, oh, that's difficult, but really quarterback recruiting starts so early on that coaches get plenty of opportunity to see these guys throw. But with the current staff, Lombardi, I want to say Michael, but his son, the quarterback coach, he is not one of the recruiters who goes on the road. So he obviously can't see these guys throw in person. So all of his evaluation is really limited unless they come to camp, is just by film. So that kind of makes that a bit interesting. But yeah, so to answer your question, it's very heavy on film. And then if you have some questions, if you're kind of on the edge, or maybe you're watching the film and you're like, okay, how tall is he really? Then yeah, you're going to need to go see him in person. And they've done that too. But they usually, and this is one of the other differences between the prior staff, they lean on their personnel staffers like Andrew Blaylock, who's not an assistant coach, but he goes off campus to do a lot of evaluating. Lance Thompson, same thing. Billy Miller and Chris Jones and Corey Giddens. Those are the main, I guess you call them, player personnel / recruiters who will go on camp or go off campus to make evaluations, while some of the assistant coaches don't go on the recruiting trail at all.
Yeah, and you got to see guys, especially like you mentioned, size-wise, offensive linemen. Are they true size, or do they just look huge on tape because they're playing against small kids and things like that? We've seen how that worked, level of competition in the past. Anything left on the offensive side? I do. One thing that's interesting to me, looking at your like, what is Ambassador Christian from Troy Aldurfer?
Oh,
Huntersville. Well, like I've never heard of that school.
So I have not. So I have never heard of it either. And I'm the type of person, when I meet someone, I ask them what high school they went to, if our conversation lasts pretty long, because that gives me a gauge of where they grew up, and because I usually have been there or at least been in that area. I have never heard of this area, and I used to live in Huntersville, so I don't know anything about it. I've been in contact with Troy, and we've messaged. I had planned on going to a preseason practice. That didn't work out from a logistics standpoint and also a content standpoint, but I will be going by there at some point, and I will make sure I report back to you to let you know what type of school that is. But yeah, I've never heard of the school, and this is not just this is, I used to live in Huntersville, and I couldn't tell you where it would be.
Yeah, it's crazy how many of these schools get added. And I mean, I think Wake County up there in Apex just added a new high school between Friendship and Apex High. I mean, it's nuts.
Yeah.
And then you've got the private schools or the charter schools and things like that. So
well, it's terrible if you live in a county or a school district where you have to constantly be worried about your kids changing schools. Now, fortunately, we didn't have to deal with that too much with my kids, because we're walking distance from Holly Springs High School. And then even before that, we got lucky. But yeah, I know parents, you want to get some parents heated, is you talk about redistricting with these new schools and everything.
Oh yeah, for sure. And never mind the high school recruiting that goes on these days for some of the athletes. Let me do this since we're about halfway through the show. I got to talk about Johnny T-shirt. You know they're sponsors of this show. They're great friends of Inside Carolina. And while we move to the On3 network and you need to sign up for a new subscription for On3 network if you haven't already, Johnny T-shirt's been the consistent here. The consistent force for Carolina swag and gear on Franklin Street for years and years and years. They've got the Navy throwback jerseys. They've got everything you could possibly want Carolina related. And you give me a second and I'll let you know exactly what they've got. But the one thing that's consistent, no matter what product you're looking for, swag you're looking for, is their customer service. They're great online. They're great in person. They're wonderful folks. The throwback jerseys in Navy, you got to call in to Johnny T-shirt and buy those over the phone. They've got the Twill Power Blend hoodies in Navy. It's interesting. A lot of Navy gear these days. Football sports tee. They got those as well. Johnny T-shirt. Just go to them. They support Carolina. They support Inside Carolina. But the biggest thing is they're locally owned and operated, and they're not around on Franklin Street forever without the support of the community. And Inside Carolina is a big part of that. National guys will pay the bill. It's Noon Dish with Don Callahan talking 2027. All right, Don, let's get back into it. And folks, if you're watching this on the,
I got two things for you.
I got a couple questions I'm going to ask you.
Okay. All right. Well, I have a question that's relevant to what we just talked about, but go ahead.
Well, there's a question on this that's relevant to what we just talked about, but also I want folks to put in and drop your top five tailgating food options. And if you're in the bowls lot, I expect to see these in action on Monday. But let me ask you this question that somebody said. Lee Grant says, how do you keep people who are so high on folks like Bryce Baker if you keep adding QBs? I mean, I believe the rule has always been you sign at least one quarterback per class, Don, but how has that shifted or changed, or has it?
I think everyone still kind of holds to that rule. This is more generally speaking. This is not specific to North Carolina, because I think we're still trying to give a feel for how this staff operates. And I think the staff is still trying to get a feel for how it operates also. But in general, it feels like most healthy programs try to sign one quarterback each class. And then if they don't have a starter they're comfortable with, they will go to the portal. That's at least what I have observed. So I have two things for you now. One, I found out where Ambassador Christian School is. It's actually very, very close to Huff High School, right off of 73 in Huntersville, as you're going towards, I guess, 85. For those who are curious. The second question is that I know one of the changes they've made to Kenan Stadium is the navy blue backdrop. So to better show off the advertisers, because you mentioned the navy blue items in the Johnny T-shirt. Tommy's thoughts on navy blue backdrop in Kenan Stadium. I think it will look different.
I like it. I love the navy. I love Carolina's navy jerseys, Carolina's navy accents. You can't tell me that those all navies aren't just nice. I mean, look, I get Carolina blue is the thing, but when they toss in the navies, like the Geo Chrome helmet NC State game navies, even the Greg Little Florida State navy when they broke those out the first times back with the Carolina blue helmets. I mean, navy just looks sharp on Carolina. I think the accents to Carolina blue, so I'm all for it. I'm all for the navy at UNC, and it's going to look different with the like you mentioned, the padding and stuff, that's navy, but I think it'll look very nice. And every other team except the basketball and the football teams and the baseball team have navy options, and they all look nice. So more navy. I don't care what people say. It's not Duke blue. It's not anything else. It is a Carolina school color, and it is navy, and it is on fire when they do it right. Does that answer your question? Let me ask you this question Sam Rogers asked before we get into the defense. What's more important to recruiting going forward, wins in the fall or putting guys in the NFL next summer?
This is a great question. I think you have to – I think wins, because that comes first, meaning like we'll have the season results before we have the draft results. And then also, I mean, it's hard to kind of predict the future with these things, but you got to feel like with the schedule, North Carolina has a better chance of having a good season compared to if you look at this roster. There's not a whole lot of names, at least when I look at the different preseason draft rankings. I know I've been following this stuff for like 30 years. The preseason stuff ends up changing. You can give me all the stories about, this guy was number one, a first round draft pick before the season started and didn't get drafted. I get it, but still, it's still kind of the jumping point off that we're going from here is that there's nobody who's really truly. I think there was 3 guys who are on any sort of list, and they're very, very low. So it doesn't seem all that promising for any sort of NFL drafting, at least with the current roster. Again, things could change, but I think the season, if we're looking at it, and this is another thing that can definitely change, Clemson clearly is the number 1 team on UNC's schedule, the toughest team. TCU is probably number 2, right?
Duke, perhaps. I mean, it just depends on what rankings you look at, and the way rosters flip. Who knows? I mean, TCU and Clemson probably have the most stability, and then Duke.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can make a strong case that TCU's number 2, and so, I mean, and UNC is what, like, was it 3-point dogs in that game? And so, you win that game, and who knows what happens to the rest of, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's pretty promising. You win that game, and then you gotta feel like Clemson's probably going to be a loss, but the other games are very obtainable,
Yeah, I would say one thing, and if folks are watching this and you have not watched the Ronnie McGill interview that Joey and I did a couple weeks ago, Ronnie's 100% Carolina guy. I mean, he freely admits that he's, he is very biased when it comes to talking about Carolina, but he talks about getting guys to the NFL is one thing and getting them drafted is one thing, but getting guys to produce and prepared to produce in the NFL is a different thing. And he talked about that's why Belichick and his staff maybe have some additional weight or, kahunas with people to. It's one thing to get a guy drafted, and Ronnie mentioned other schools that have a lot of draft picks. It's another to get a guy that is successful in the NFL, and he feels like this staff will prepare them better than any other staff in the country. We shall see. But yeah, so it is going to be an interesting dynamic here. I think wins matter. I think wins build hype and all of that stuff, and then everybody wants to be a part of a winner, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, let's talk defense.
Okay.
You've got this full list, 27 UNC 2027 defensive names to watch. Again, it is led by some local guys or some in-state guys, or at least some close-by guys. What stood out when you were creating this list for you?
Well, this is exactly where I got the in-state theme from. Because I mentioned it in the offense, which is part 1. And just to kind of give a little bit behind the scenes, I guess, inside baseball sort of thing. Initially, this was going to be one story, and then it got so long that we decided to cut it in half, do offense and defense. But once I did that, the whole talk about the in-state focus didn't make a whole lot of sense for offense because, yes, there are definitely some offensive targets that are in-state, but it pales in comparison to the in-state guys. And the one thing about this 27 in-state crop of recruits is that if you were to make an all-star team, a Shrine Bowl team, where you legitimately had access to all these players, and those who follow the Shrine Bowl know that it has been diminished a bunch. And so not the best players don't always playing it. Most of the time, the best players don't playing it. But if you could grab the best defensive players or best players from the state of North Carolina, you have an absolutely nasty defense. You would have 2 really good linebackers. You would have edge rushers, some big old boys in the middle of the defense, and then an absolutely nasty secondary with a lockdown corner and some hard hitting safeties. I mean, the in-state crop for defense is pretty impressive, and that's the thing that stood out to me. That isn't even taking into account. And this is a guy who North Carolina's been really, really recruiting hard, but hasn't had a whole lot of success other than drawing him to campus in June. Is Joshua Dobson, who's the number one quarterback in the nation. His address is South Carolina, but he lives in Fort Mill. And if you have spent any time in Charlotte, you know that Fort Mill is basically Charlotte, and Charlotte is North Carolina. It just happens to be over the South Carolina border. So, you consider that the defensive talent that is in the Carolinas, and also there's two defensive linemen, 4-star defensive linemen, just over the South Carolina border outside of Charlotte also. So the Carolinas are just absolutely loaded in defensive talent, which is another reason why, making the local kids a priority makes a whole lot of sense.
Is Clayton legit? I asked for personal reasons, but also because you've got another Clayton guy on there,
yeah.
and they've got some talent over there.
Yeah. So with Clayton, I think you're really talking about the 26 guys because, I mean, Smalls at quarterback who's committed to NC State. I think they're going to give him a shot at quarterback, but he's definitely a receiver. You're not going to have many other teams that Clayton's going to be facing that are going to have that sort of playmaker in the backfield. And then I went to their scrimmage. I think we talked about this. And Keyshawn Sensel is just an absolute mountain of a man. And during the scrimmage, just the other teams could not do anything because he was constantly collapsing the pocket. So, I mean, I just think that Clayton has some guys on their team that a typical high school just cannot compete with. Now, come playoff time, because I don't think that they play like Roseville or anyone like that. You would know better than me. It gets a little bit, the playing field gets a little bit more level once you start playing those other teams, Cardinal Gibbons and all of that. But yeah, on a typical Friday night, I imagine Clayton is going to dominate.
Yeah, they need to get over to Cleveland hump since Omarion's gone, and a couple of those other guys. They need to get over to.
I love
Cleveland
Coach
humps.
Chadwick over there, though. By the way, one of my favorite coaches to deal with.
You should come to Clayton more often, and maybe you come on a day that I'm around. And,
I did.
We'll
I knocked on your door. There was cars in the driveway. No one answered. Dog barking. No one answered. I don't.
I mean, if the dog doesn't like you, you've got problems. We're talking to Don Callahan here on the Noon Dish. Still got time to get in your top 5. Get in your top 5 North Carolina tailgates, foods. And again, the requirement here is if you're going to name it, you got to be able to produce it when it comes around in the Bowls lot. Colby Jones trying to clown $20. They still lose to Cleveland. Maybe. But we shall see.
Ron Odell, I wish I could highlight these like you have that fancy tool to do.
Right there.
So what it is like, because this makes me feel like the vibe. I mean, what is kind of the vibe you feel like as far as like the I know nobody knows what the team's going to look like for obvious reasons. Everyone has said that a million times. But is a vibe feeling like UNC? Because I mean, I just don't see UNC beating TCU, but then losing to UCF. I mean, I guess anything's possible, but
anything's possible. I think. So I'll give you my personal opinion on it.
Okay.
When this all went down, we were all like, this is nuts. This is ridiculous. This is going to be amazing. And then you start realizing, well, this is either going to be great or this is going to be a disaster. And you wonder about it. And then all through spring, you hear of some things that make you think this is not going to work. This is going to be an issue. But as we've gotten into camp and deeper into camp, there seems to be more of a buy-in and all. But as somebody that's followed Carolina football forever, and I think I can speak for a lot of these people that have followed Carolina football forever, you get the expectations going into the season, and then there's some sort of sense of just waiting for something to happen. So it was a here we go again type thing. And I think that's where I am. I've always said if they beat TCU, it's on. The only reason I didn't pick them to beat TCU is the offensive line worries me. The injuries that they've had. Not sure what they've got on the defensive line till we see it. Now, the videos that they're putting out are very good at creating very high expectations. So I think they're gonna be good. But I think for me, does being good and being sound and being fundamental and all, does it equate to wins on the field? And what are the expectations? And that is, I have no idea, Don. I have no idea what this team's going to look like. I don't have any idea what Gio Lopez is going to look like at quarterback. I think Max Johnson has some fans as well, even though he didn't look great before he got hurt last year. But you got to love his ability to come back from all that. But football's just won or lost on the trenches. And I think if North Carolina can figure that out, if they had one more, and this is like, how many times have we said this over the past 50 years of my life? If they had one more stud defensive lineman, I'd feel a lot better about it. And that's not a slight on who they do have, but you felt like there's always one short or two short. So I don't know. I have no idea what to expect. We'll talk about it. We'll do a game plan tomorrow night with Jason and Greg. We'll do an Inside Carolina Live show from the Bowls lot. But if I'm honest, I have no idea what to expect. I do expect them to be more sound fundamentally, more less, or I expect there to be less what the hell are we doing moments for the players and for the team. And I think that in itself lends to one, maybe two more wins than you would expect. And that's why I picked 9-3. That gives Belichick and his staff a ton of respect / weight in all of this. And
so you have losses to Clemson, TCU, and who's the third?
Syracuse. And quite frankly, I think 8-4 is the number, but I was not going to pick them to lose to Duke or State. I just could not do it.
Well, the thing with if I think Dorn's toast. The recruiting this year, everyone, some of the posters will mention how like North Carolina's not losing to NC State in recruiting. Well, NC State's not beating anybody in recruiting. I know I'm really picking on NC State. This is really not on purpose. But I think anybody who follows it will tell you their recruiting is doing really bad, and it feels a lot like a year ago in North Carolina, where it's kind of like just like a warning sign of, hey, this is not going so well. And so if UNC was playing NC State early in the season, I might think differently. But the last game, Doran might not be head coach.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, let's be honest. He's the head coach now because of his ability to beat Carolina. I mean,
yeah.
I fully believe if they don't beat Carolina in 16, he's not the head coach after that game.
Yeah.
And give him credit.
Well, last year, didn't they need that game? I might be thinking of a different season, but didn't they need that game
last
to
year
get
was a bowl
eligible?
I think so.
Okay.
And I think they've had that, several times. But whatever you want to say about him, he has the ability to get his players ready to beat Carolina. And does that say more about who was on the sidelines for Carolina in years past? Maybe. But the bottom line is you got a lot of wins. You got 4 wins, 4 straight. You got pulling ones out of the hat, just whatever it takes. That game's going to be crazy. Whatever the case may be.
Well, I don't know if it will be if Doran's not the coach and they're kind of like a wounded sort of program at that point. But I don't know.
You do not underestimate the hate that program and that school has for North Carolina, and it shows on the field, I think.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, it definitely matters. As me being an outsider, I feel like it definitely has always mattered more to them than it has to UNC. And I think when I mentioned, I had a bunch of people jump down my throat, and I mentioned NC State. In a story, I had NC State listed as UNC's arch rival, and a bunch of people jumped on me. And I think that's kind of part of the problem, is that people want to dismiss NC State, but yet, I mean, I understand that the lifetime record, what that is, but the recent record is not great against NC State. And there are most of the time, UNC has more talent, and NC State has beaten them pretty soundly in
Yeah.
recent years. So,
Yeah, I mean, so
but
there's no excuse this year. I do find it interesting, and this is another prop up for one of our past shows in the prediction show.
mhm.
Greg talked about he picked State, or he said State would be ready for that game because of the rivalry and all of the things we were just talking about. But Jason pointed out the fact of Belichick's ability to win the rivalry games in pro football, whatever that, whatever level of those
Yeah,
rivalry games you
I
have
still
in
think
pro
they're different,
football.
but
They're different, but I thought that was an excellent explanation from Jason, um, talking about why Carolina should be ready to play in those type games. I just think going back to you asked expectations, just see a football team that's ready to play every week.
mhm.
That is not getting slapped around early and decides to wake up, and there's a lot of issues. I mean, Freddie Kitchens was the OC in the bowl game, and quite frankly, they didn't figure out what to do in the bowl game until the fourth quarter. Those type things can't
Yeah,
happen, and so
yeah,
that'll be an interesting dynamic to
yeah. I
watch.
mean, I think you could. Yeah, you could. I definitely think that you can probably list a lot of reasons why this won't work. And then I think when we're looking at why it will work, it all is pointed to Belichick preparation, coaching, changing of the culture. That's we're getting the most out of people, focusing on players who fit what he wants, as opposed to just taking really good players, if that makes sense. And but it all still kind of boils down to believing in Belichick. So
Yeah.
I know that we're recruiting, but I'm curious about Duke. Is it you just don't want to give Duke a win, or is it that you don't know how to feel about Duke compared to North Carolina?
Well, AS in Keenan Stadium,
Mm-hmm.
and Duke got them last year. I know that, but it's a completely different Carolina team. It's one of those things where you ask me this question in October, and I may have a better answer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I just think, that's a game that Carolina is going to be ready to play, and at that point in the season, who knows? Duke's defensive line is going to be good, and if they stay healthy, they're going to be really good. But it's one of those things where I can't pick Carolina to lose to Duke in football.
So it's just a
And
principle play.
no, but it's also a historical thing, and it's also that now you're gonna have me talked into thinking Duke's gonna win. But it's just too far out there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. We got
There's too many variables that can happen aside from everything we've talked about. But from September 1st until whenever that is, November 23rd, I mean, that's a lot of football, and a
yeah,
lot can
absolutely.
happen. And it's like Wes Durham talked about on another show we did. There's no waiver wire to go pick up somebody if somebody gets hurt, so it's all a crapshoot. We'll
Yeah, I
take it
think
day by day and week by week. I think is the easiest way to look at it.
I mean I really like Duke's coaching staff, particularly how their defense is coached. You know, I remember when before North Carolina hired Belichick, and the talk was Toledo's head coach, being a strong candidate, and Mensa potentially following him, and
Tulane, not Toledo.
Tulane, sorry.
Yeah.
And I was watching, and I had seen Tulane multiple times, and went back and watched some of Mensa again, and it was like I don't know if this is going to be the answer for North Carolina. And then the portal opens, and Duke just spends a lot of money on this quarterback. I don't know if he's much better than Malik Murphy, to be honest. Not money wise, but whatever. What do I know? I guess.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, there's
and I
too
think
many variables in college
yeah, and I
football
think
these
Duke
days.
got away with a lot of different turnover luck and everything like that last season.
But they
So
also don't make a ton of mistakes, and I
true.
think that is and
They're
that
well
is what
coached.
I
They are.
want to see
Yeah.
from Carolina is more games are lost than they're won. And Carolina's done their fair share of losing football games over the year rather than winning football games. And folks should understand what I'm talking about there. I don't expect Carolina to lose many games. They may lose games, but they're not going to lose them just doing mind-numbing brain fart type stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference. And I think that is why Duke has been fairly good,
Hmm.
whether it was Elko or Manny Diaz or whatever. And that's what, like last year when Carolina played, what was Carolina up 20-0? I'd said this game's a 21-20
Yeah.
game, no question about it. And Duke just kept plugging, and Carolina eventually said, "Here, take it." And so I just think those days may be over. Talent may
Okay.
get this team. Talent may end up being the ultimate downfall of this team, whatever happens. But I don't think all the other stuff. And that's what's crazy in years past is it's never been a talent issue for North Carolina except save 1 or 2 years. And now that the talent level is not as high as it has been, they've got everything else figured out. So anyway, we talked a lot. Let's talk about the top five. And this is
Okay.
Don Callahan and Johnny T-shirt and the On3 Network. And get your subscription for $1, and you get Don Callahan on the scoops, but you also get a
And you
top
get
five right
Tommy.
here.
You get Tommy on the podcast and on the
I'm
message
free.
board.
I'm free. I do like posting on the message boards, and one thing I posted was the tailgate food and beverages of choice.
Come to the message board. Talk to Tommy.
Yeah, come to the message boards and get in the game. Come to the Bowls lot and come up
And talk to
and
Tommy
say
there.
hello.
Hopefully
Yeah,
he's
and
sober.
we'll be. It's going to be a long day, so we're going to be on best behavior. Let's go. Top five. Preston, you get the first shot. Philly cheesesteaks, cheeseburgers, liver mush. Come on, man. Eggs and bacon. I'm not going to lie to you. I do not like noon games, but I like some Blackstone bacon and eggs tailgating for whatever
Okay. I don't
reason.
think I've done that before, but
And then beer and liquor. Absolutely got to have the drinks. Sean Crowley,
love the hoagie
hoagies,
reference.
cheesesteaks, hot sausage and pepper sandwich, Amoroso rolls. See, I got all this fancy stuff. I'm just a Johnson County boy. Just give me some bread. Shish kebabs, especially made by his friend with all kinds of stuff. Simple hot dogs with lots of stuff on them. Lee Grant, who I don't remember seeing this name much in our message or in our chats, but shout out to Lee for joining
Yeah.
up and
Stafford
being
for Lee
active.
for coming in.
Diabetics, so my list is different. Cracker Jack. Not sure I know what that is. Somebody explain that to me. I've heard of it, but I can't place it. Hot and spicy peanuts. I can't do the hot and spicy peanuts. It's just bad. Chicken dogs, keto buns, spicy mustard, South 40 macadamia nut bars. And this is where you lose me, Lee. Topo Chico, plain or lime. I can't do it. I've got some in the refrigerator, and I don't know how people do I don't know how people do the seltzers anymore. Used to be. I saw. This is funny. LSU came to Carolina, play Carolina in baseball last year before last, and I saw big old LSU fans, diehard fans, just hardcore, drinking White Claws. And I called one of them out. I was like,
Oh
"You're
no.
waiting in line to buy a $15 White Claw." He's like, "It's for my wife, man. It's for my wife." And then, lo and behold, he's sitting down in front of us, drinking that big old White Claw. I just can't do the seltzers. Anyway, I digress. It was just disappointing to see LSU fans in that stuff. Eric Russ, chicken wings, hamburgers, potato salad. Don't like potato salad unless it's
I'm not a fan.
loaded. Well, if it's loaded baked potato salad, I can do it. But just like your traditional
If
baked
we're doing
potato,
those sort of salads, it's got to be macaroni salad for me.
yeah, I like. I can do macaroni, pasta salad, and stuff. Not a huge potato salad fan, but it is a tailgate food: chips and dip, hot dogs, and sausage. I like some brats. I like tailgating with brats. Might have brats for dinner tonight. Sam Rogers, Westmore recording. We already talked to that. Will Reason, top 5 tailgating foods plus one I won't mention. Burgers, there's brats. Wings, chili, and ribs. Honorable mention is pizza. I'll tell you this, Bricks and Brent's Pizza in Chapel Hill. It's awfully good.
What's the place that's kind of sort of in the same shopping center as our office that we
That's
go to?
Brent's.
Is that Brent's? Okay.
Yes.
That's really
That,
good.
that is really good. Did you eat with us the other day?
No, I don't get invited to those things.
Yes, you were there, but you left. You had to go. You were absolutely there sitting on the
Oh, yeah,
couch
yeah, yeah,
during our meeting, but you left. I ate that pizza for like 4 days because we bought so. I ordered so much because they were paying.
yeah.
Birdman.
Tell me you ordered 5
It,
pizzas.
yeah, the man was like, "I got it." I was like, "Okay, we'll take that one, this one, and that one. Hot dogs, chicken, burgers, potato salad again, and beef ribs." Colby Jones. Colby said he's going to be in the Bowls lot. Come see us. Smoked wings, a boil. That's like jambalaya, instead of like potatoes, corn, and shrimp. Burgers, hot dogs, smoked meat, ribs, chicken, brisket, and a liquid diet. Miller Lite. My guy, we can do that. Let's see if anybody else has popped in here. Oh, here it is. Oh, I mean, I know what Cracker
Oh, okay,
Jacks
yeah, yeah.
are.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah, but I
Cracker
thought
Jack.
it was something different. I love some Cracker Jack.
Yeah.
That is
You
I
don't
will
see
burn it.
Cracker Jacks very often, though.
You know how much a bag of Cracker Jacks was at the Bowls lot?
How much?
$8 for a bag of Cracker Jacks at the bowl, and not in the Bowls lot, in Boschheimer at the baseball game. I almost
Well,
had a heart attack when I saw my
everything
credit
is
card bill.
expensive. I think we're
But it's a $2 bag, and it was
dude,
$8.
how much is a beer? Can you buy beer there?
Yeah,
How much is
15,
a beer there? 20
12 to
bucks?
15 does.
Yeah, I mean it's
I did
crazy.
not look. Preston's giving me a hard time. I didn't realize we were talking about Cracker Jacks. I thought it was some sort of food
I'm with you.
thing.
I kind of thought it might be Cracker Jacks, but I'm with you. I got a little confused. Sorry, MVP.
Yes, I love some Cracker Jacks. Will Reason last year mentioned the possibility to play a round of golf at the Noose with him, Greg, and Jason. How can I make that happen? Hey, I can see the golf course right out this window. I'm all about it. Just let us know when we can make it happen. Greg and Jason are the ones that have the high dollar
Yeah.
schedules.
Yeah, good luck trying to get onto Greg and Jason's schedules.
I played the other day. Some days I love the game, some days I hate it, but I live here, so I can't get away from it. Melinda Dolphin shows up. Melinda, you're late, or you late chiming in, but it's good to see you. Hope you take a chance to go back and watch this in full. What is your top 5, Don? And then we're getting out of here on time.
All right, so some sort of barbecue. I guess I have 6. I'll go barbecue. I love wings. I like ribs. I really love wings, but I feel like with a tailgate, I don't want my hands messy.
Bing.
You know what I
I was
mean?
about to say the same thing.
Yeah. So to me, it's not just about the flavor. It's about the portability. It's about the messiness. And you're not going to be able to wash your hands. All that sort of stuff. So barbecue, brats, hamburgers. My number 2 is cheesesteaks. You can order some good cheesesteaks if you can keep them warm. And because obviously you're not cooking them out there. Well, I guess you could, but you probably aren't. You're probably ordering them and trying to keep them warm in aluminum. And then number 1 is hoagies because of the fact that, or subs, the fact that you don't need to keep them warm, and very portable, very easy to eat, that sort of thing. That's my number 1. What about you?
Yeah, I agree with you on the wings. I like wings. I don't like getting your hands dirty, so I'll do some boneless wings if we're doing the tailgate. Obviously, hot dogs, brats, hamburgers are always good. You can cook them out there. One of the coolest tailgates we ever had, it was years ago, and I mentioned on the message board, we fried catfish in the Bowls lot.
Ooh.
And I was with some country dudes back then. Shout out to my country friends. And yeah, we had a big, massive catfish fry out there, and it was amazing. Brisket, barbecue. We've done pigs in the Bowls a lot before. I haven't done it. Shout out to Waller and his crowd. They always used to try to do one a year. It is amazing that the work folks put in.
Oh, yeah.
Burn-ins, anything with meat and red meat. I've seen people do steaks out there. I've also seen people not have any food and just drink their lunch and their tailgate, and I've done that too, and that's some memorable times. Come to thing, but I don't like mess. I don't want something to get on clothes and all that stuff. So anything that's simple And we've done the boil, and we've done the shrimp boil, and shout out to Dodd and all them that have done that. It's one of those things that's kind of messy. But yeah, I'm all about any good pickup food that's not messy when we're tailgating.
We're on the same. So we could tailgate together, Tommy.
Yeah, you can come out, and then I love some chips and dip, buffalo chicken dip, things like that. Don't do Bojangles anymore, even though I'm going to try it again. I haven't had Bojangles like 4 years. Bojangles chicken, I mean. But yeah, we do it all, and subs, hoagies, whatever you want to call them. Anybody with great food options, absolutely let us know. I'm up for trying anything, especially this season. It's going to be wild in the Bowls lot, wild at Wake Forest, wild at Charlotte. So bring ideas and let's meet up and let's do it. And you get to see Don Callahan on Monday if you get there early. Look for the cool dude. I've already described you on the last message board, so everybody will get it right. Anything left, Don?
No, just we have plenty of content in the coming days. I mean, I have a lot. I know that everybody else has a lot. Also, the beat guys have a lot of content leading up to the game, after the game, during the game. We'll have a recruit list, which should be going live soon. A lot of good names on there. We'll have responses, reaction, I guess I should say, following the game from those recruits. Although it might be a little delayed just because being a Monday night, those guys aren't getting home until midnight or so. But we will have reaction from recruits at some point next week. And just come on the message board, talk to Tommy. Tommy wants you to answer his questions. He wants to talk to you. And come talk to me, ask recruiter questions. We have an Ask Don thread. Come on there. You have your recruiting questions. If they didn't get answered here, come on to the Tar Heel Premium message board. Ask me some questions there. And a lot of conversation going on over there.
Yeah, absolutely. A ton of content. It's game week, folks. Carolina, TCU, 8 o'clock on Monday night. Stay tuned for plenty more content this week. If you haven't listened to the Hoyer podcast that Merletti and Joey did, it's a great insight into Bill Belichick. Like I said, if you haven't watched the Ronnie McGill show, the West Durham show, Vip and Shot show will be up at some point. We've got this one. We've got more. We've got the game plan live Thursday night, tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Stay tuned for Jason and Greg. They'll join me to talk all things Carolina and TCU. Hard to believe, but the season is here. On to TCU. Thanks, Don.